From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater. Radio 111 presents Bonnie G. and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
Welcome to The Desert Scene on Radio 111. This is so exciting. Hey, Brayan, how are ya?
I'm doing good. It just trips me up. That's an interesting theme song.
I know,
like
yeah.
that.
We got new music, a new name for the show, a new name for the station. We're back after a little break. It's fall. This is exciting.
I like this. I really do. It's kind of, funny enough, this kind of reminds me of, I'll tell you later on our Today in Pop Culture History segment, but it kind of reminds me of the event that happened about 50 years ago, but I'll tell you later.
And you know what I feel like, Brayan? We're evolving. We're growing. We're evolving. We're maturing. We're, like a fine wine. I think it's great. So let's talk about some stuff that has happened, that we've seen, and things that have happened since we met last and talked last. We were talking just before we got on a couple of shows, the Rocky Horror Show, and actually they have a midnight. They're closing Saturday midnight is the last show. They're closing. If you haven't seen it, if they've got any tickets left, I don't know if they do. Fabulous show, just fabulous.
I will say though that for me, I was not surprised that they got an extension because they were supposed to close a couple weeks ago,
Yes.
and I was actually on the original last show.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard they got the extension, because I actually did meet the cast and I got to have dinner with some of the cast members because I knew somebody, and I was not surprised.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I had heard a lot of things. And so, break a leg to everybody that's doing the show this, I think today actually.
Yeah. And Robbie Wayne, who I love, he's a dear friend, and he, of course, is the artistic director, plays Dr. Frankenfurter, and just blows it away. I mean, he was born to play that role. He just really, and everybody's, and their special effects, all the tech stuff was great. The singing, the band, of course, Jackie Davis is a friend of mine who runs the band, who's the musical director and does piano. Band's fabulous. Some really great, just a really well done show.
And I think what I like about this version of the Rocky Horror Show is that they actually have really good singing as opposed to the stylish singing that typically the show is famous for, because I don't think anyone's going to really say Susan Sarandon's a great singer traditionally.
Yeah, she did okay. She did okay in the movie, yeah.
But certainly I would say it really stands out when you have really good singers like they do at the Desert Rose Playhouse. And I think what I like about it, and from what some of the people were telling me when I had dinner with them, was they were not trying to be imitations of the movie, but doing their own show, doing their own version of it. And I think it really stands out. And I think that their casting decisions, I like the fact that they kept traditionally a man playing Frankenfurter, because,
of course. Oh, yeah.
Because I know that some people wanted to kind of change it up, but I kind of feel like Frankenfurter being played by anyone but a man is like Peter Pan being played by anyone but a woman. I feel like certain casting decisions make more sense. And so I'm really glad that while they didn't want to imitate the movie, that they still kept those traditions that work so well about the show.
Yeah, and I went over and I reviewed it for CV Independent, of course, gave him a rave. And one thing I noticed was Ben Reese, who plays Riff Raff, and I said this in the review, and I just thought it was, of course, everybody, it's kind of a wild and crazy show. If you haven't seen the movie, it's a little off the beaten path. But he, I thought, even in his long way, of course, he's got a great voice, there was something oddly, slightly attractive about him.
I can see it.
But in the movie, Richard O'Brien was just creepy. He was just creepy. But Ben Reese just had some kind of charisma about him, I thought.
And I also know one of the cast members, April Mija, who plays the usherette. I think that she did such a good job introducing the show that I actually was like, you know what? You're my friend, and usually I try not to, have that influence me, but I was like, no, you were genuinely good introducing the show, because Rocky Horror is one of those shows where if you're not playing Frankenfurter, it's going to be a little hard to sort of get everyone to notice you.
Find a way to stand out.
And the usherette is a good opportunity, but I feel like I've seen performances where if the usherette is in a certain way, it doesn't play very well. Yeah. And I love the fact that she wasn't trying to be super perky, but she genuinely performed it in a way that was very erotic. I would say erotic or exotic, actually.
Yeah.
And and usually they have this way of like being funny, like trying to squeak up their voice, because the original show they're like science fiction, and in the movie it's Richard O'Brien's voice out of a woman's lips. So I like the fact that she did it in a way that was funny, but it was also like
genuinely her,
and it was genuinely sexy if you actually wanted to look at it that way.
And it's a little bit of pressure because she opens the whole thing, so it's a little bit of pressure. The other, I mean, everybody was great, but I also loved Richard Marlowe, who did the professor. I thought he was fabulous. You know, the narrator, the professor, the older guy. I thought he was wonderful. And
I also will have to give credit to someone else in the show, like Christian Quevedo. I think that's how his name is, but his name is Christian. I just read the name, but I don't know.
Oh, who did he play? Remind me.
He played Eddie and Dr. Scott. And I like the fact that this was one of the few times where I've seen a version of the show where where the same actor plays both characters, where I felt like, okay, it actually makes sense, because I've seen a version of it in LA where Dr. Scott's played by the same actor who plays Eddie, and I kind of felt that I knew that, you know, obviously they were played.
You didn't notice it. I don't think this in the show as much. Oh, it's the same guy. You didn't really notice it that much.
No.
I don't think.
I didn't notice it, but also like it wasn't off-putting. Like it was clear that it was it was clear, you know, obviously you have to suspend your disbelief that it's someone in older person makeup, but it didn't feel weird to me. And so that's what I love about that show. And also I would say just in general, they use the set really well. The
whole building and the stairs and all of it. And
it felt very immersive. So because we're in such a small space, that I feel like people kind of put down small theaters or theaters that are comfy size.
Some of those are the best. You see the best stuff sometimes in smaller theaters, I think.
I think you get closer to the thing, and
it's more intimate, and you feel if it's a good show and it's capturing you feel that.
And and sometimes, you know, like the bigger theater, sometimes depending on your seats, sometimes
you don't see as well.
You don't see as well, but it was so great to see all the actors and notice little things. For example, like if you look in the background, the I don't know what they're called, but the extras, like the party goers, they're not in the movie as much, but in the show they have all these people in the background.
They use them well.
They use them so well. And I know one of them personally, and I said, you know, I like the fact that you just kept going. He's like, well, everybody has a backstory about their character.
Exactly. You can't just say, I'm just standing, I'm just a body. And the other thing I loved is there were so many different body types and different shades. Everybody was different. Lots of different heights and weights and looks, and I love that.
And I think what I love about this cast was that it was very diverse, and it felt like they got the and genuinely feels like they got the best people for the job, because every time I see like as problematic as it sounds, like a all white cast, and usually I'm like, you know, that person of color would have played that really well, and it would have read differently. And sometimes they'll say, well, we auditioned everybody, when you know they didn't. In this case, it felt like they really did go out of their way to audition everybody. And I like the fact that the show has always been famous for, in my opinion, being fairly positive about different bodies. Like you said, like how Eddie is considered sexy in the show, and he's a bigger guy. I mean, he's not super big, but he's a bigger guy than Rocky. And so I like the fact that they're both seen as like attractive, and just the fact that the show doesn't try to be too, like, how do I put it this way? Just be shocking for the sake of being
shocking, right.
Like, it genuinely gets over itself. It's like, you know what? This person's in a dress. Move on.
Exactly.
we got wackier
just
stuff.
Move on. And I just want to just say a moment and just talk about Robbie and Matthew McLean, his partner, who worked their buns off to get this place to renovate it and turn it into a proper theater and keep it going, in the sets and the overhead and the paying and the electricity and all. I mean, it's been such a huge job, and I'm so happy that this show is such a smash, and I'm hoping it is the beginning of the whole season that's going to be like that, because they need support. They need people to buy tickets to keep the place going. I mean, it's such, and if you haven't been, you should check it out. It's the old Zelda's on, what is that, East Palm Canyon?
Palm Canyon, yes.
And they've turned it into a proper theater. Of course, you still have the bar, so there's the bar on the side, so you can get some wine. And they've got some regular seats, and they've got these sort of leather couches you can sit in the back. I mean, it's just a great space. So if you haven't got tickets to Rocky Horror, the show, whatever their next show is, I think it's Xanadu.
Xanadu, yes.
Check it out. They do some great stuff.
No, and I will also say that their stuff is very faithful, but also very their own. Like, it's faithful to the shows that they're doing, but they feel like wholly original in their own way.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Xanadu and Hedwig, because I know that's the other show.
I saw that in San Diego. Eric and I went to visit some friends a few years back. We saw that in a big theater. I don't remember the name of the theater, but it was an interesting show. Very interesting show.
I think this has been a season where they're going to have a lot of interesting shows.
Yeah, they push the envelope, definitely.
And I gotta say, though, it has really been a journey for the Desert Rose Playhouse to go from one location to the other. So this is kind of like at the end of the movie when everybody's putting on the show, and sure, things are still not great outside, but you know, at least the show can move on and be able to persevere. And just in case anybody's curious, the show, if there are still tickets or for the next show, they are doing vaccine mandates, and they are very consistent and very strong about them.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just want to mention that right now. Kudos, congratulations to the city of Palm Springs and the city of Cathedral City, and I don't know if other cities are going to do it, hopefully soon, for I don't know if all restaurants, but a lot of, but certainly theater venues and a lot of clubs, they are checking vaccination cards, and I think that's great. I mean, you know, not only you're keeping the audience safe, you're keeping the performers safe. Performers don't deserve to get up there and sing their heart out and end up getting COVID because there are all these unvaccinated people sitting in the audience. And you know what? And I know we're not going to get into a big political thing. I'll just say one thing. If you don't want to get a vaccine, that's fine. Don't go to that theater.
Oh, yeah.
No one's forcing you to do a damn thing. Just don't go to that theater.
Oh, yeah. And also, it's one of those things where, you know, give your money to where, you know, vote with your money. Exactly. So, you know, if you are not vaccinated, which is your choice, you know, definitely, you want to go to a show, you know, there's plenty of shows in like Rancho Mirage.
Or go outside, one outside or whatever.
Outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's places to go.
But I will say, though, like, it actually is pretty curious that the performing arts, you know, it's surprising that the performing arts, you know, we're seen as, like, you know, shallow people, but we're the ones that are actually, like, trying to get people.
Not most of the time. That's not true at all.
No, definitely not. And they're the ones who really want to get people vaccinated, and they want to keep their audiences safe, because, you know, at the end of the day, you just can't perform to a dead theater, you know?
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's a win-win. Look, everybody wants everything open. You want everybody to come out. You want a big crowd. So get everybody vaccinated, and then you can do that. I mean, it's simple. Exactly.
And you know what? There's just so much that we have to catch up on, that, like, we're running, you know, out of time in this segment, but, like, I think this summer has been a very good summer for the performing arts so far, and for catching up on television, because you have some TV shows that you have to catch.
Yes, I got to tell you all the stuff that I've seen since we talked last. And we're going to have some great guests a little later on, but I'm just so excited. Welcome back, everybody. So this is the Desert Scene on Radio 111, and here I'm Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza. So we'll be back in a little bit with more, and so happy to be back.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities, with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
And we're back on the Desert Scene. So I want to talk a little bit about, I think Brian's proud of me, because for the longest time I hadn't seen any of this stuff on HBO. A friend of mine has HBO Plus and all that. And I went, on our break, I went to Kansas City to visit my sister and got to watch all of The Fabulous Mrs. Maisel, which was phenomenal. Loved it, all of it. And then my other friend, I watched all of Mayor of Eastham, right, with Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
amazing acting. I've seen several segments of Hacks now with Jean Smart, and I also saw the Kaminsky Method. I think all of it with Michael Douglas, and so just great stuff. So I may have to break down and get HBO. But anyway, I thought it was all wonderful. I mean, the Fabulous Mrs. Maisel. The way they did it with the music and the time frame and the stories, the acting's really good,
and also the jokes are actually genuinely funny, that, because it's a show about this woman who goes from being a stay-at-home wife in the 50s to being a comedian,
stand-up,
And I think what I love about it is just it's just so stylish. It has such flavor to it, and I love it. And
it's really hard to watch, especially if you are. I'm not a stand-up performer. When she's bombing. When she's doing badly in the club, you just feel so bad for her. It's like, but she's wonderful. And I don't remember the woman's name who plays Mrs. Maisel, but she's wonderful.
Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah.
Rachel Brosnahan.
Wonderful. I think her husband's cute. The guy that plays her husband, I think he's adorable. Whatever his name is.
Oh, like Michael Zigan, yeah.
Okay.
And you know who's actually like a standout on the show is Alex Bornstein as like her manager / friend.
She is amazing. I love her. She just killed. I mean, I can't imagine anyone else doing that part. What amazing casting. She was perfect.
And I will say though that show had won a lot of Emmys in the past for like best outstanding comedy series, outstanding comedy supporting actress, outstanding lead actress in its first season and its second season. I must say though, I was impressed. I was really impressed.
Are they going to do more? Are they going to do another season?
Oh, yeah. The show was renewed. It did a third season, of course. Yeah. Season 4 was renewed the same day that season 3 was renewed. So
how soon are we going to see it? Do you know?
I think that the sad thing about, of course we have to bring it up, the pandemic, is that the show's production got delayed further. So I predict either between 2021 or 2022,
I hope so.
Later this year maybe, but more likely next year. So I'm hoping maybe on our next break you'll go see.
And you know who's having a hot couple years is Jean Smart, because not only does she play Kate Winslet's mother in Mayor of Eastham and fabulous there, but she is in Hacks, and she just won an Emmy. What did she win for that she just the other day?
I think she won for Hacks.
Hacks. Oh, yeah. Very funny. Just a riot, yeah.
And what made Jean Smart's win pretty important is that she has won a Emmy in every major category. So, like, she's won a lead actress Emmy. She's won a supporting actress Emmy. And I think she's won guest actress. So she's one of the very few actresses who are able to do that. She won for Hacks, and she in general is such a great actress. I've seen her on stuff like Watchmen, so she's able to be really dramatic, very versatile actress. And Debbie Allen was
honored. What did you think about the Emmys in general?
This was a year where I felt that the Emmys were certainly better than the Oscars, because last year the Oscars were just disastrous a little bit. But I think in this case, like, I did think that they had some good guests, but I also feel like there were times where I think my issue this year was more or less who won versus who didn't win, because I did feel that like shows like Pose and actresses like MJ Rodriguez, who did Pose, which is on FX cable, that they certainly deserved the win, as opposed to like Olivia Colman, who I'm sure she would tell you she didn't deserve to win for The Crown this year. But I feel like there's a lot of politics still, like, oh, it's her last season on The Crown, so let's give it to her. But it's also kind of like, but then this actress MJ Rodriguez Pose, this is the final season, so they could have given it to her. But I understand the politics of it. I don't like it. But overall, I did feel that sometimes, like, some of the people who won when they were giving speeches, with some exceptions, major exceptions, like Michaela Cole for I May Destroy You, wonderful speech about writers. This one man, I forgot who it was, but he won for like the Queen's Gambit, and he kept telling the music to stop, to shut up. That was a common thing, is that everyone kept telling the music to shut up. First of all, I don't know why the music went. The music would show up literally 20 seconds into a speech.
Yeah, gotta give them some time.
Like a minute, you know. Yeah. And I feel like the guy, when he shut them up, I was like, oh, he's going to have something really great to say.
And he
then,
didn't.
No, he just kind of rambled. I said, dude, you could have just finished the speech 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. See, I'm a huge one for, I'm local to the desert. I mean, I've won a few Desert Theater Awards, so I occasionally gotten to give a speech. I am a huge fanatic about keep it short and sweet. Don't go on and on and on. Nobody wants to hear that. You know what? Be classy. They thank you so much, and if you want to thank your producer and the cast, and I know there's a great honor, and get off. Yeah,
and I understand that in some cases, like Hollywood, they have this. They sort of have to play a politics game of like, oh, I got to thank this producer. But you know what? It's actually backfired because in the past, like, let's just say a famous producer with the initials HW, that he got thanked a lot in the 90s. And now it's kind of backfired because it turns out that maybe you shouldn't be thinking that, because it was considered the politically right thing to do. Not correct, because obviously not him, but like it was advantageous to thank him. Now it doesn't age well.
Yeah. And it's people appreciate when you just short and sweet and get off. Okay, we're going to have a guest when we come back. We're going to have Eevet Edens talking about Paint El Paseo Pink, a big, wonderful event coming up in just a bit on the Desert Scene.
Bonnie and Brian continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we're back on the Desert Scene on Radio 111. And I'm so excited that we're now joined by our first guest on our new show. She's the Desert Cancer Foundation Executive Director, Eevet Edens, and she's talking about a great event, Paint El Paseo Pink. Hi, Eevet. How are you?
Hi, Bonnie. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, this is exciting. It's going to be live in person this year, correct?
Yes. We are very excited to resume an in-person walk this year. The city has been very supportive, and our participants have come in. We've already got 50-plus teams. Absolutely.
And so for people who may not be aware of it, I don't know how you could not be aware, because this is the 15th year. Tell people a little bit about what the event is and what it's for.
Yes, so 15th Annual Paint El Paseo Pink is a walk, Saturday, October 9th, 8 a.m. start, and it is a walk it takes place in October because of breast cancer awareness, so it's a walk to raise awareness and to celebrate our survivors and support the individuals in treatment now. Remember the ones that we've lost to breast cancer. And it's also a very important Desert Cancer Foundation fundraiser. We raise funds for all cancer care. So this takes place in October, and there's a whole awareness aspect to breast cancer, but Desert Cancer Foundation does pay for all cancer care, and the proceeds will go to help local individuals who need financial assistance with their cancer care.
That's great. And would you say it's grown every year as far as the numbers of participants?
I think in 2019, of course, everyone now says pre-pandemic. I think we had reached almost 2,000 participants, and we are hopeful to get 1,800 this year. We're highly recommending masks, although it's an outdoor event. But it's something that really is a community event. It's well known, it's well respected and loved, and for obvious reasons, we are celebrating so many individuals, and we are helping to support a wonderful organization here that helps so many residents who need care for something very vital, to pay for cancer care.
Absolutely. And just for some specifics, so it's about an approximately 2-mile round trip walk. It begins and ends at the Gardens on El Paseo. It's going to be led by the iconic pink 1957 Ford Thunderbird. Now, who does that belong to?
Her name is Sandy. I don't know that I forgot her last name, but she is wonderful and just comes out and supports the event every year. And yes, so we have a Grand Marshal this year that we will be presenting at the ceremonies just before the event, Dr. Eide from Desert Regional Medical Center. And we have the Pink T-Bird with Talia Hayden that will lead the walkers. And we're going to paint El Paseo pink. And we hope that people do go online and register and join us for that day. It's going to be really, really fun. It's a very fun, high-energy event.
Yeah, I've participated in a couple of years. It was really fun. So El Paseo is going to be closed to vehicles from Portola to Highway 74 beginning at 7 a.m. that day until 10:30 a.m. And by the way, you can bring your dogs. A lot of people bring their dogs on leashes. Yes, and kids.
Absolutely, yes. Kids and dogs welcome. The merchants on El Paseo are very supportive. We have our presenting sponsors, Eisenhower, Lucy Kirchie Cancer Center, which is one of our Cancer Center partners, and many, many other supporters just come in. So we'll have our sponsor booths and do a little welcome ceremony, and then, off we go for a 2-mile walk. It's not a race. It's not a run. It's not timed in any way. It's just local community people just really celebrating one another and supporting a great cause.
And you're luckily in the desert, October is usually beautiful. So you've always had good weather, haven't you, for this?
Yes, it is good weather. We certainly, it works out that way that October starts to cool off, and it's early enough in the morning that it's comfortable. And of course, we say wear comfortable clothing and hat and sunscreen. You're walking a 2-mile.
Right.
So, and we have a special T-shirt for this year. So we hope that participants register and get that fun commemorative T-shirt for this year's walk as well. And
so pre-registration is $35, and if people want to participate, they can go to let's see, is this at PEPP at Desert Cancer Foundation? No.
We abbreviate it to that, but it's paintelpaseopink.org.
Okay.
You can also go through our website, desertcancerfoundation.org, of course, and find the visual and click on it. But it's easier to just go directly to the event site, which is paintelpaseopink.org. The T-shirt is $35 pre-registration. We want to encourage people to pre-register and pick up their T-shirt the week prior. We're going to have a little storefront set up at the gardens because, for COVID, we don't want too many crowds gathering trying to pick up a T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking I have to take a moment and talk about, because I knew her not really well, but I knew her because I was involved in some groups, Media Mavens, etc. But Patty Daly Caruso, I know that is one of the people that people remember and think about, because she was very instrumental in this walk for quite a while, was she not?
I think she was, in the early onset.
Yeah.
Many people sort of came together to start it, and it has grown for 15 years, and we're just grateful. We're grateful to so many people. Unfortunately, these things start with someone who is a cancer survivor or had to go through cancer, but it's absolutely wonderful how the community comes together, and she was a wonderful icon with this event.
Absolutely. So the Desert Cancer Foundation, we'll talk about that a little bit, was founded in 1994 by Dr. Sebastian George. I remember him, and Art and Corey, is it Teichner?
Teichner,
yeah. And so tell me about I don't know how much you're involved in the research or technical aspect of things, but it seems to me that every year there's maybe discover a little bit more, and care and prevention and all that kind of stuff moves forward a little bit as far as cancer, breast cancer in particular. Can you speak to that at all?
I'm not a medical professional. We only pay for the cancer care, but I can tell you that our 2 cancer partners have top facilities, and they provide excellent care, and we see a lot of survivors. We see a lot of people who make it through, some people who don't think they are. They're told they have 2 weeks, make it through. And what we do is take away that financial burden for them to focus on their healing, and the social workers at our cancer centers and the staff and the oncologists are absolutely wonderful. Our committees are all social workers and oncologists from the 2 local cancer centers, and it's just the support system all the way around. And I can tell you that treatment has certainly come a long way. I can't give specifics, I'm not a doctor, but It has come a long way. There are chemo pills that people take and maintain really good health for many, many years, and there's just so many options today.
And so how did you get involved originally? How long have you been the executive director?
I have been here just for a year. I joined last year just before Paint El Paseo Pink. So huge thank you to my committee members that planned it all, because I think our former executive director had already left 2 months prior. And I kind of jumped in, and I was like, oh, wow, they did all this. This year, of course, I was involved a little bit more, but it's a lot of effort on a lot of board members and committee members and partners that come together. I just heard of the opportunity and applied for this job. It's not even a job. It's starting to feel like a calling. It's amazing to do this kind of work. It's very humbling to see who we serve. And I'm grateful that I got it during a pandemic. Desert Cancer Foundation did not cease our services. There was a little bit of a dip. People didn't go in for screening, so there wasn't as many applications. But then after I came in and things started to open up, we saw an increase because now they did go in, and unfortunately the stages of cancer were more advanced. It doesn't take a break. Cancer does not go away. We've had COVID, and it's very serious, but people need to be mindful that this is also a disease that takes its toll on many, and the support is hugely important. We rely on that community support so
Absolutely.
much.
And talk just for, I know you mentioned this, but is it unusual for a local charity for all money that's raised to stay in that local community? That's a wonderful thing that is true of Desert Cancer Foundation. Is that an unusual thing?
Some of the national organizations, I think there's like a franchise type fee or whatever. I can't speak to them very much, but with Desert Cancer Foundation, yes, every dollar raised stays here. We serve the 9 Valley cities and extend up into Yucca Valley and Coachella and Thermal. We do extend a little bit out of our 9 cities, but it is certainly local, and the patients receiving care are receiving local care with our partners here. So yeah, the money raised here stays here, and I think that's important to a lot of our donors.
Absolutely.
And that was, it was one of the visions of Dr. Sebastian George, because he just saw a need. He sort of didn't feel like he could get anywhere with other national organizations, and started his own, and here we are 25 years later.
Would you say that, is this the biggest event that the Desert Cancer Foundation puts on each year here in the Valley?
Yeah, Paint El Paseo Pink is our largest event. We have a wine dinner that's also a nice, smaller scale event, but we have supporters for that too. The other large event is the Dr. George Carr Show that the Palm Springs Cruising Association puts on for us, which is absolutely wonderful. It's larger than Paint El Paseo Pink and brings in that level of donations. So we are lucky to have that kind of support. We're lucky to have this event that people love, and then additional support from the community.
And the car show is that in the spring, I think, normally?
It's in February, yeah.
February.
Unfortunately, we had to cancel last year.
Right.
Postpone. We called it postpone because it's going to be their 18th annual. It's on for February 12th of this year at the Indian Wells Tennis Gardens, and that's going to be another big one as well.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, if you haven't ever participated in this, it's really a fun event. It's a real sense of community. Again, it's the 15th annual Paint El Paseo Pink Walk. It takes place October 9th, 8 a.m. So you want to pre-register. And again, you go to paintelpaseopink.org, correct? And you can pre-register and get your T-shirt?
Yes, you'll get your T-shirt. We will be distributing them the week prior. If you go to that page and scroll down, we kind of have instructions where to go, what to do the few days prior to the event, and we'll set you up. We love this event. The community loves this event. The city is wonderful, our partners. So yeah, please join us, paintelpaseopink.org.
And again, where you want to wear comfortable shoes, you're going to be walking like 2 miles. You can bring your dogs on a leash and your kids, bring your sunscreen and your hat. And it's a really great, and I think the vendors love it too, because it brings them an extra business, right?
They show their support. Nobody's really selling anything, but they are there to support the organization, and of course to give out informative information to the participants. They're certainly there to answer questions. But our partners, a lot of them are continuous supporting partners, and they kind of join year after year, and it's wonderful. This event really is full of energy, full of support, full of just amazing, celebrating one another in the community.
Well, thank you so much. Desert Cancer Foundation Executive Director Eevet Edens, and this is such a wonderful event. And again, if you've never participated, you really should think about it. It's really fun to see everybody walking down El Paseo. Thank you so much for all your great work. It's a wonderful event, and I hope you have a huge turnout this year. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate it.
So much. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. All right, we'll be back with more on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
From musical theater to literature and all the other stuff we enjoy in between, making desert life so vibrant. You're listening to Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza and the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And we're back on the Desert Scene on Radio 111. So, Brayan, what else? A lot of stuff going on in entertainment.
Oh,
Yeah?
yes. Certainly there's been a lot of stuff going on, but I would say that, I actually found out that Tiger King is going to get a second season.
Really?
And, for everyone who doesn't remember, because it happened during the beginning of last year, the Tiger King was this miniseries, true crime documentary that was big on Netflix about a very scandalous,
Kind of bizarre. Yeah.
bizarre tiger community. So tiger keeping community. We had villains.
And somebody went missing, and they thought they fed him to the tigers or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So just to quickly get through the main parts of the story was so you got Joe Exotic, this guy who really wanted to be like Steve Irwin, except no charisma.
not much class, I don't think.
Not
either, as I
much
recall.
class.
Yeah.
And he tried really hard to be famous and all that. And so he had a rivalry with a woman named Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin is a woman who had a wildlife sanctuary who, both of them basically were tooth and nail to each other because of the fact that they
And big feud, competing basically.
competing, because one of them is a sanctuary where they have to keep those tigers there because unfortunately you can't put them in the wild. And the other one, Joe Exotic, he just wanted them as like zoo animals,
Yeah,
basically, and he sold them. And the show itself is about how he tried to get her killed, or at least allegedly, because he's in jail right now, prison for that. And there's that part about the man going missing, and that relates to Carol Baskin's ex-husband, who is this wealthy man.
And he's the one that went missing, right?
Went missing, and they think that she fed him to the tigers. And then she became
the worst.
And then she don't you hate when that happens?
I hate when that happens.
Don't you hate that? And then Carol Baskin went on Dancing with the Stars later on, and that was way past the show. And then now Kate McKinnon's going to do a movie about it, which, I get it. I can see it. But Tiger King is getting a second season, and Netflix is doing I think they're kind of doing their own version of Comic-Con where they're doing announcements, and one of the announcements is Tiger King 2. And they're going to have it be sort of after Tiger King. How are the developments? What happened after everything went a certain way?
I think there's a segment of the population, Brayan, who's saying, who cares? I hate to say it, but
No, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But it was number one on Netflix, but I think
popular, yeah.
But I think you actually hit the mark on something, because they were trying to make a bunch of Tiger King movies. A lot of studios were trying to make their own Tiger King movie miniseries. One of them actually canceled because they realized that the Tiger King became mostly popular because people were at home, mostly indoors during the pandemic, so they didn't really watch anything but Tiger King, and sort of became a fascination, because it's at least we're not like those people.
Yeah.
And people were really excited for it at the time, but it became more and more clear that maybe it's not great television.
Yeah.
Because at first we all thought, oh, this is great documentary filmmaking, but then
it just became sleazy.
It became sleazy because you realize that it's the people, and that the people were so weird that the filmmaker had to just put a camera on them and that's it. And I don't think it was necessarily great filmmaking.
Yeah.
Especially considering that Carol Baskin also, funny enough, Carol Baskin actually declined the second season appearance because she was asked.
What a shock.
Because she said, you made me look like a murderer, and so I am not going to do your show. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And, well, you know what? To move away from Tiger King, there was one piece of news that I was really excited about during our break that unfortunately we wouldn't get to talk about. But
what's that?
ABBA came back.
Ooh.
So ABBA, the Swedish...
The real ABBA.
The real ABBA, yes.
Okay.
And they're back. They're going to get a new CD out called Voyager. They put out new songs. So
they got to all be in their 60s or 70s, don't they?
Oh, yeah. They're all in their 70s at this point.
Okay.
And ABBA is going to do a hologram concert. So it's going to be a concert where they show projections of themselves as young people with CGI and computers, and they're going to have it sort of projected. So if you want to pay about $100 to see ABBA projections, they'll be there.
But they're going to be there live too?
I think they'll be there like to say hello and
but not actually performing.
I think if anything they'll perform, but they'll have the holograms projected.
You know what? It's an interesting concept and nostalgia. Everyone wants to go back and remember those days. So I think
that's what they were saying, that like they wanted people to remember ABBA for what it was, not for what they are now. Which is actually, I don't know if I agree with that, because I think that most artists like Paul McCartney and stuff like that, they handle age just fine. You know, I don't think anyone really cares how old you are if you're a great singer and all that. Yeah. But I listen to the new songs. You might, this is the nicest way I can put it, but they do it does sound like something straight from the 70s, and I think that's great because ABBA's very 70s, and so if it came from the 70s, it sounds like it did. Okay. So I think it sounds great, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, okay. I always liked ABBA. I liked their harmonies. I'm not going to pay $100 to go see that, but I liked ABBA. So.
Oh yeah, I think that's what most people were saying to me, like, oh, we like ABBA, but for a while people used to dislike ABBA, but now it's like, I think ABBA mania.
One of my favorite songs I ever did was Fernando.
Oh yes, that
Something in the
really
Air that
good.
night. I always loved that. I just thought it was really well musically. It was a really cool song. So.
Yeah, and of course, Dancing Queen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to be back with much more second hour of The Desert Scene on Radio 111. I'm Bonnie G with Brayan Mendoza. We'll be right back.
From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater, Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And we are back on The Desert Scene on Radio 111, our premiere show with a new name and new branding. We're very excited, and we're excited to welcome Scott Coulter. Amazing guy. His resume is just amazing, and he is directing this year's version of Michael Childers' One Night Only. Every year they have this big show at the McCallum. It's fabulous. This year the theme is Back to the 70s, and Scott Coulter is the director. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hi, Bonnie. How are you? I'm great.
I'm so glad that you could join us today. So,
me too.
Tell us about. There's so much to talk about. So, first of all, is this your first time directing this particular show?
It's my first time directing this particular show, but not my first time being a part of it. Okay. First of all, let me say congratulations to you on the new show and the new name and everything, and the premiere episode. How exciting is that?
Yeah, and you're one of our guests. We're really excited.
I'm thrilled. So I think this is my fourth year as a part of the Michael Childers One Night Only. The incredible performer Jason Graw brought me on several years ago when he was directing. So I did a tribute to Jerry Herman. We did a Rodgers, Hammerstein, and Hart night. We did a Best of Broadway night. But this is my first year directing, and we are there's a little bit of Broadway tributed in the show, but the majority of it is just those great classic pop songs from the 70s. And what's amazing to me to think about is these songs are 50 years old.
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing to think about the 1970s being 50 years ago, but that is what they were. And these songs still sound as fresh and as exciting as they were the day they were written, which is a real testament not just to the songwriters, but to the incredible performers that we have lined up to present them.
So now, I've asked Michael this many years. I've interviewed him many times. How do you come up with who you want in the show each year?
You know, it's the great thing about this One Night Only event is it's a real family, and I think many performers some of them have appeared in almost every event since its inception. But Michael does like to shake it up every year and bring different people in and expand the family. And because this one is less Broadway-based than past years, he's reached out to a lot of pop stars from the 70s. So, for example, Debbie Boone is going to be there to sing You Light Up My Life, which is, was the #1 song of the decade. Rita Payne is going to be there to sing her hit Band of Gold. I don't want to give all the secrets away. But this year, it's peopled with people who have a real connection to the time period and the material. And the whole thing, the whole night is going to be kicked off with a special performance by Lily Tomlin. I mean, how thrilling is that?
That's great. That's amazing.
I know.
So is it challenging? You got a lot of different performers. Is to kind of keep it all together and keep egos in check and keep it all moving smoothly. Has that been challenging?
You know what? The good news is it hasn't been challenging.
Okay.
The whole event is for the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center.
Right.
So everyone involved knows that it's a benefit and it's for an incredibly worthy cause. And Michael is such an icon there in Palm Springs and Hollywood. You know, the world's over for the work he's done,
yes.
Both as a photographer and as a humanitarian. So people actually write in. He's already getting requests from people this year to participate in next year's show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because it's such a hot ticket and such a beautifully realized event, everyone wants to be a part of it. So there are no egos, because if there are egos, there is someone to replace you
exactly.
in line, waiting to step in.
Yeah.
And so everyone gives of their time, which I think is a really important thing to note. None of these, world superstars, these A-list entertainers, no one gets paid to be there. They're all volunteering their time for this cause. So that sort of checks the egos, just right off the bat.
Yeah, and so musical direction by Todd Schroeder. So did you? Right. So did you and Michael and Todd kind of sit down and figure out? Did you think about the songs you wanted first, or performers you wanted first, or kind of a mix?
Well, it's kind of a mix, because I know Michael had some people that had already been asked prior to the theme, because, like I said, people ask every year to be involved, and so he had included some people in this show before it even had a theme. But then we sit down and we look at whose name is on the cast list so far and what songs really need to be represented by that decade. I mean, it was the last decade where we all as a country listened to the same music. Yeah. We all had the same radio stations. There was no MTV yet. So the radio stations played, pop stuff like Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson and Charlie Pride, but they also played disco like Gloria Gaynor and Donna Summer. So the musical landscape of the 70s was so vast that we wanted to sort of represent everything. So just about every genre is represented. And then it was just about finding the right person to do the right song, which I think we have nailed that this year. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a real party in the desert. Yeah. That's what we're calling it, and I think that's truth in advertising.
Absolutely, and I've seen it a couple years. I just said real quick, I want to read the list. Brent Barrett, Clea Blackhurst, Debbie Boone, of course, Carol J. Is it Buford?
It's Bufford.
Bufford, okay. Bufford. David Burnham and Hampton Calloway, Liz Calloway, who are, icons and everywhere, but in the desert it's also yourself, Laura Dickinson, Julie Garnier, Jason Gra, Sam Harris, Aaron Lazar, Skyla Fontaine, Amanda McBroom, Ken Page, Jeffrey Scott Parsons, Frida Payne, Joan Ryan, Gary Shaw, Jake Simpson, Kevin Spiritus. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Spiritus,
okay.
Yes.
And
Spiritus.
Nita Whitaker, Karen Ziamba, and of course Lily Tomlin. So an amazing lineup.
It's an amazing cast. I will say a couple of changes. Sam has a commitment that may prevent him from being there. He's trying to work that out. And we have added, so that we have as much star power as possible, Palm Springs' own Lucy Arnaz is going to close the show this year.
Excellent.
So she is a one-night-only staple, and she was able to work it out to be there with us this year, so she's been added to the cast as well.
That's great. I want to talk about you for just a second. I'm looking at your credits. Oh, my goodness. One of New York's most honored vocalists, 5 MAC Awards, Manhattan Association of Cabaret and Clubs, all kinds of awards. Let's see, you've been at the 54 Below, the Oak Room at the Algonquin, Feinstein's at the Regency, and I wanted to read this one thing. Won the 2003 MAC Award for Outstanding Recording and was chosen as the best recording of the year by Theater Mania and Cabaret Scenes magazine. And this quote just kills me. Pronounced it, quite simply, the best these ears have ever heard. Wow.
Isn't that nice?
That's quite a compliment. My goodness gracious.
That was a very nice review.
So tell us a little bit about your background. Did you start singing as a kid, or did you always want to do this?
I did. I started singing as a kid, and my parents were always very supportive, and let me do whatever I wanted, and always paid for the lessons and drove to the practices, and were really just the best parents you could ask for. And when I went to school for musical theater, And when I moved to New York, I spent the first couple of years auditioning, and I worked, but I got really tired of the auditioning grind and waiting for someone to give you a chance. And so I decided early on that I was going to stop waiting for someone to give me a chance and make my own chances, which is what led to this. So I started a concert production company called Spot On Entertainment. And so we produce concerts for symphony orchestras and performing arts centers around the world.
That's great.
So that's our main thrust now. And that really beautiful quote that you wrote about my first CD, it's so funny. It's my only CD.
Wow.
I was like, I need to do another one. It's been almost 20 years, but that was such a great, I mean, how do you top a quote like that? I was like, maybe I should just sit it out and let that one speak for itself.
Exactly. I don't know how you top that. And also, I was looking at all the shows you've done. You did one called The Fella Sings Ella, which honors the life of Ella Fitzgerald. That sounds like such fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. We do a lot of stuff at Artist Naples in Naples, Florida, which is a beautiful performing arts center. And the woman that booked that series back at the time said to me a very kind thing. She said, you're like Ella Fitzgerald. You sing right in the center of the note. She said, you're like, the male Ella Fitzgerald, which is not true, but it was a very nice comment.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what if we did a show called The Fella Fitzgerald or The Fella Sings Ella? And so she liked it and she booked it. I mean, I can't do that show now. It's not quite politically correct anymore, but it was a really great show because Ella Fitzgerald's history is the history of the United States.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What she did and what she went through. And my favorite part of her story is she got her start. She was actually living on the streets in New York at the time, and she got her start auditioning for a contest at the Apollo. And she entered as a dancer.
I remember that story, yeah.
When she got there were two dancers, a sister act on the bill, and she thought, well, I'll never be them, so I'll just sing instead. And she won, and that was the beginning. So put your best foot forward. That's sort of a great life motto.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, real quick, we'll get back to the show in a second. But so, is there anything on your bucket list that you haven't done yet? My gosh, you've done so much in this business.
I've yet to originate a role in a Broadway show. And I remember years ago, a friend of mine, Stephen Schwartz, said, do what you do. Just wait and let somebody write a show for you. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. So I'm still waiting for that. But I have to say, honestly, I've been very lucky. I've gotten to do almost everything I've ever wanted to do. I would like one of my the concerts that we travel the world with. I would like one of them to be filmed for either PBS or some sort of variety
that would be great.
Special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What is your if you had to go? Obviously, these days you created your own things, so you're not really auditioning much anymore. But if you're at a club or something and somebody says, "Scott, get up and sing something," what are one or two of your go-to songs? I'm a singer too. Everybody has a go-to song.
Oh, well, what's your go-to song?
Well, it depends on if it's upbeat or not. I do a lot of jazz stuff, so I do Ladies of Tramp a lot and Route 66, and then I do Teach Me Tonight. I love doing Teach Me Tonight. But, yeah. So,
well, I want to hear you. I sort of go the opposite way. I tend to like the ballads. I need to incorporate more up-tempos in my stuff, and I like to do different spins on songs. So I like to do songs that people think they never want to hear again and make them hear them in a new way. So my number one go-to song probably is Tomorrow from Annie, which I know sounds crazy.
But you do it your own way?
A couple of years ago. I did it my own way, and I did it actually for One Night Only a couple of years ago. And it's a great song. It has such a great message. Yes. And especially in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
I mean, any song of hope. And my other go-to song actually is, you're not going to believe it, but it's The Sound of Music.
Wow.
Which is done in a really sparse scaled down version. And I've always thought of that song more as like a prayer than a song, and that's the way we present it, and it works.
Scott, my co-host Brian wants to ask you something real quick.
No, typically, because I was inspired by your question of go-to songs, is there one song that you haven't done that you're afraid to do, like a song that is so challenging that you're nervous to do it, and would you ever do it? I'm curious.
Now, Brian, you're posing a challenge. I don't, I'm not sure. I'm not afraid to do it, but I've never done it, is Bring Him Home.
Oh, my God, what a great song.
People always, and after every concert, someone comes up to me and says, oh, I want to hear you sing Bring Him Home. And that's the one I was like, oh.
That's
I'm
a
not
fabulous
sure about
tune.
that. Like, it's a great tune, but I've not done it, and that's one that I'm not afraid to do it, but it would need a little bit of convincing to get me to do it.
Okay, real quick, Scott.
That's a great question, Brian.
Real quick, tickets, they go to www.mccallumtheater.com or call the box office,
That's
I believe,
correct.
760-340-2787, I believe.
That's correct.
All right.
Correct. And it's almost sold out. So
Hurry up. Yeah, no, it's coming up November 10th, but it's almost sold out. Michael Childers, One Night Only, Back to the 70s, directed by Scott Coulter. Scott, thank you so much for being here. Really a pleasure to talk to you. All right, have a great show. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
Bye-bye.
we'll be back with more on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
He likes to read. She likes to sing and act. They both love the Coachella Valley. And they love talking about the desert scene with you on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie G. and Brayan Mendoza.
And we're back on the Desert Scene, Radio 111, our debut show. So what else is going on in the world, the entertainment world, Brian?
Well, I was going to say, did you want to talk about the what were you were saying earlier?
Yeah, I did. The other evening, I was really thrilled and honored to be one of the singers at the open mic at Oscars. Michael Orland, who is the musical director for American Idol for years, fabulous. Of course, he's based in L.A. And he comes in once a month now to Oscars to do this open mic. So you got to buy a ticket and sign up as a singer, and you bring your music, your keys or whatever, and you get to do a song or two depending on how many people are there. And it's great fun and it's fabulous. Some really talented people. But kind of digressing from this question we just asked Scott, it just bothers me when I see people, it's usually really young people, doing songs that are not appropriate for them age-wise. And very often they're good singers. And this happened at this open mic. Michael Orland had a couple of his students, voice students, very talented, really talented, good voices. But I just think if you're 17, you're a little too young to be singing Maybe This Time. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe this time I'll win, Lady Lucky, like you failed, like you've had heartbreak. She's 17. I just didn't think, she sang it well, but I just didn't think it was, and then there was a 10-year-old who did My Heart Will Go On. And she was had very good. My Heart Will Go On, you're talking about a love that's maybe died off. She's 10. So, there's so many great songs out there. And the other story I told you is there was an 8-year-old, usually go back in D.C. in a variety show. She was 8, very good, singing If I Could, which is a song about a mother singing to her child. Why do people let these 10-year-olds sing songs that are completely inappropriate for them? I don't get it.
I think, too, for me personally, I feel like there's sort of like technical brilliance, but there's also emotional brilliance.
Oh,
like,
sure.
For example, if you have a child singing Maybe This Time, they might sing it so well and have fun with it. But it's also kind of one of those things where you forget that the show that it's from is Cabaret, and Cabaret has Nazis in it, and it's like
and it's a dark, and it's about pain and heartbreak and what's happened that you failed in the past. At 17, you don't know what that's about.
And I remember I was watching I was seeing someone sing Cabaret, and they were pretty young, and I didn't know why I didn't connect with their version, even though their version was pretty solid performance-wise, and this conversation made me realize it's because I don't think the song Cabaret is meant for someone that young.
And think about it. There are thousands and thousands of songs to choose from. And you're right. It's connecting with the story and the lyric. For me, it's just as important as having a pretty instrument. You've got to have all of that. And if it's a song that you couldn't possibly really have any knowledge about, connection with, don't do it.
And also, I think in some cases it could be the opposite, where someone who is older,
too old to be doing it,
singing a song that maybe isn't really great. Like, for example, like I don't want to bash Dear Evan Hansen too much on this show, but I was watching the movie that came out. Well, it came out yesterday and this weekend, and Ben Platt singing "Waving Through a Window" and "Words Fail" at 28 is not exactly as impactful as him singing it at 20, 21. Because for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just think the show benefits from young people singing it, because the show is about this young boy who has anxiety, and he hears about this guy who committed suicide, and basically through a series of events, it's much more complicated, basically pretends to be this guy's best friend, and he becomes like viral, and he becomes famous, and he gets a lot of like respect and love and friends by pretending to be a dead guy's friend. And it's actually like really difficult to pull off, because for me, like, Ben Platt at 28 does not pull off a kid who like has to a kid with anxiety who pretends to be a suicide victim's ex-best friend, because now it's like creepy versus because when you're a teenager, I can be like, okay, well, that's
got the angst and
you got the
all
angst,
that stuff,
and you don't know what you're doing. But if I see a 30-year-old pretend to be a dead person's best friend, I'm like,
you need some help.
You need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a villain. I'm just he's a villain now. But and for me, it's like same with like I feel like it depends. Like in some cases, I can tell when someone has such a nice life that when they sing something like "I dreamed a dream," it doesn't
ring true.
So in some cases, I feel like a lot of times, like, you got to be very careful with the songs you pick, because like while you can be technically brilliant, you still need to connect to that song. And
that makes a huge difference. It's just such a huge difference. I mean, there were people, for instance, like I personally, when she got, as an adult, I didn't like Judy Garland's voice, because they're like, that's too much vibrato for me, just like Edith Piaf. But she sang her heart out. She sang her guts out, and that's what people really related to, I think.
And I think and someone might make the argument like, oh, well, she sang "Over the Rainbow" in her adult years and people still love it. And my first thing would be, well, the thing is, though, she originated that song and she's connected the most with that song. So
now it's a different way to look at it.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe this time, I guess a young person could play it off, but the thing about it is that certain shows like Cabaret are very specific about the songs. Like Cabaret, the song is very specific about Susan Bowles' Sally Bowles, my bad. Her specific life at the end of the story, and it's very hard to sing that song out of context with a young person singing it.
Well, and also life is a cabaret, come taste the wine. I mean, that rings more true when you're an adult and you've lived a little bit.
Or you've seen people die, and you've seen people...
Exactly.
Like, because that song is about basically her trying to, like, accept the fact that maybe one day she will die early and young. And it's not...
So live while you can.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've solved the problems of the show business world, okay, Brian, we'll be back. Actually, we're going to be back with Hope Diamond in just a bit, talking about a big show. Bunch of new stuff's coming up with her. We'll be back on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
Bonnie and Brian continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we are back on the Desert Scene on Radio 111. We're hoping to talk to Hope Diamond in just a bit. She's got a big show coming up. We may have an incorrect contact number. We'll see if we can work that out. But let me just tell you about it real quick. Hope Diamond, she's fabulous. She's a fabulous jazz blues singer. If you haven't seen her, you should check it out. Smooth Jazz Jam, Wednesday, September 29th, 6 p.m. at Frankie's Italian Bakery and Supper Club. We love Frankie. He's our buddy. He has this great Italian restaurant, and he's turned this back room into a jazz club. It's fabulous. So this show is Wednesday, September 29th, 6 p.m. Smooth Jazz Jam with Hope Diamond. And she's got a wonderful sax player too, and I don't have his name right now, but so 6 p.m. dinner available, 7 p.m. show, $15 cover. For reservations, you can call it 760-770-1300. That's Frankie's Italian Bakery on Perez Road, and it's a great club. You should check it out, and she's fabulous. We're going to see if we can get a hold of her.
But I don't know. I was just going to show you that's the phone number you can give it to.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Let me write that down.
You're hearing the struggles of radio life for a moment, but it happens. Yeah. But I'm actually really excited to hear about all these events. So like I was going to say that we've had Hope Diamond on the show before, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so I'm always excited to have recurring guests, because it's like nice to see where people are going in the progress of their careers. But just to reiterate, I think so far, like, I'm just trying to remember, like, do you remember the dates for the 2 other events that we've mentioned on this show?
Yes. Well, the Paint Paseo Pink is October, let me get it, October 9th, I believe. Hold on, let me find it. Here we go. Yes, October 9th, 8 a.m., Paint Out Paseo Pink. And then One Night Only is November 10th. It's a little down the road, but they're almost sold out. One Night Only is November 10th, so you got to get your tickets now. McAllen Theater box office, either www.mcallentheater.com or 760-340-2787. So check that out.
You know what? I'm actually really happy I'm going to say this just because I love hearing this, but I love hearing the word sold out when it comes to a theater performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it tells me that the theater world is slowly coming back to normal. And so there's this beautiful, like, it's just like this beautiful thing at the end of the tunnel, because it's like, oh, I think that might be Hope Diamond.
I think it might. Let's see.
Hello?
Hi, Bonnie.
Yes, is this Hope?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yay, we got you. I'm so happy to have you on here. So, Hope Diamond, I was just telling people about your show. Tell us about the Smooth Jazz Jam, Wednesday, September 29th. Tell us about it.
Okay, September 29th. Oh, my God, this incredible friend of mine from Canada finally got here. He has a new CD out, and I have a new CD out, and we are going to be doing some wonderful contemporary smooth jazz.
Ooh.
And it's going to be for just about a couple of hours down here at the fabulous Frankie's in his intimate front room this month, along with Paul McDonald, my conductor, who has agreed to come down and perform with us.
And tell me the sax player's name again, one more time.
His name is Wally Larson.
Okay. All right. And he's an LA guy?
No, he's from Canada.
Ooh,
just got here.
Okay. So and now your new CD is it Awaken? Is that the name of the CD?
It's called Awaken.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And where can people get it?
Okay, you can get it right now on Spotify or iTunes, or you can call me personally or go to my website and I will deliver it to you. Signed.
Oh, that's even better. Now, so tell us about, I know you are intimately involved with what's going on at Frankie's. We're so happy that Frankie's is open again. Yay! And they've got Tuesday nights, we got the jam with Doug McDonald. Thursday, Thursday we got, of course, open mic with Joel. So tell us, people, what's going on. I know October things are going to ramp up a little bit, right?
I think so. You know better than I in terms of just everything here in the desert. But, man, I've been reading about all the wonderful things that are getting ready to ramp up. Frankie's is getting ready to fly with music and musicians. It's supposed to be really, really phenomenal. But, you know, you've been there, and Bonnie, you sang there just the other day. It was so pretty seeing you, and you're just a glow in the room.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And so I'm going to try to do that on Wednesday, on the 29th. An intimate evening with the sax man.
Ooh. I think sax is the sexiest instrument in the world. It just is.
You better not tell my friend that plays piano and the violin.
Oh yeah. Well, he knows that's sexy too. So tell people about you. So you've been running all over the place. You've been back and forth to LA recording and this and that, and you had a big show. You just had a big show last week.
Yes, I did. A big band. My CD release party was in Newport, and now I'm bringing it to Palm Springs.
And
in about a month.
When is that? Do you have a date yet?
No, not yet. We're racking it up so that we can get the date finally out to everybody. And you're my first big interview, so this is kind of cool to just talk about it. And hopefully people will want to find out where Hope Diamond is going to be next month.
Now tell people, if you had to describe your style as a singer, what would you say?
What would you say?
Well, I think you're bluesy and jazzy, girl. I mean, that's what I would say.
I'm an R&B girl with a jazz feel.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm on the stage, I fight myself to stand still. I go, okay, act like Nancy Wilson act like Nancy Wilson, but I want to dance like, Natalie Cole,
Yeah, but you don't have to be just like Nancy Wilson, because that was her thing. You got to do your own thing,
I know, but you don't want me to dance that wild on the stage. It'd be a party up in there. Because I used to dance on Motown. I'm an R&B girl, but my business is jazz. That's it. And Bonnie, come on. We are young and healthy and beautiful, and people love seeing us on stage, and we look great, and people want to feel it. I love it. I had no idea how many people still love Motown.
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's never going to go out of style. Never, never, never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we just asked.
I keep that in my back pocket,
Yeah, we just asked another guest we had was a singer. What is your most singers have kind of a one or two go-to songs. So if you were at a club or somebody said, "Hope, get up and sing," what's one of your go-to songs?
People ask me all the time on the slow song, which I did in Atlanta, Georgia. I did Georgia.
Yes,
on my mind.
I knew you were going to. I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But the dance song is people love me to do Proud Mary.
Okay.
And so I now am taking Proud Mary. We're going to jazz it up for my next album and make it more in a jazz feel, but yet R&B feel, because it's a great tune, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about your. I know we've probably talked about this before, but it's been a while since we've been on the air. So, did you start singing as a kid? How did you develop your style? Did you have a musical family?
I have nobody in my family that's musical.
Okay.
No, zero. But in the church, like a lot of African Americans that came up in my era, the church was always there for us from 4 years old. That from being able to read the words on, I've always been a part of the gospel scene. But surprisingly, gospel was not and is not. Gospel and blues are not my strengths. I mean, they're my strengths in that I could wail it, but it's not my desire. So I don't do gospel anymore, and I don't do blues.
Okay.
I'm more with it'll always be in me.
Yeah.
And you'll hear it in my jazz, and you'll hear it in my R&B. And my mom and family just never really see me perform, really. My sisters, nobody really.
Oh, well, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Well, they just know me as Hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, they don't even know me as Miss Diamond.
and I always like to ask, do you have any special? First of all, do you vocalize every day, and B, do you have any special pre-show little rituals that you do?
During COVID, I almost forgot about vocalizing daily, so I got a little rusty when I came on. Because Atlanta, Georgia was my first show after the COVID. But I do vocalize heavily. I meditate before the show. I have to start my tea and honey. My vocals don't open up till 3 in the afternoon, so I hate when people ask me this thing in the morning. Yeah. And I have a contralto voice. Being a contralto, I'm almost a man's voice in the morning.
Okay.
So it takes me a long while, a lot of steps, practices.
Yeah.
A lot of no drinking because my vocals will dry up and I want to hit a high note. So coming from my lower register to go way up in my upper register, my vocals got to be really clean. And so I unfortunately can't have that champagne till at the end of my show. Okay.
Okay. And now tell me about your hubby, who's a great guy. I've know your hubby kinda. He's a big support for you, isn't he? Does he give you? Do you go to him sometimes for constructive criticism ever?
I don't have to go, honey. He's right there to give it to me. But he's right there. I've had him tell me after a show, look at me and go, "What was that? You were not in. Your heart was not there tonight." And I get so mad, but he's maybe right. He's right. But then he really cheerleads me on. Like the CD release party I had in Newport last week. Everyone in the room saw him beaming. He was so happy and proud because we worked hard, him and I, to get here on that album. He selected half of the songs. Paul McDonald selected the other half. And we came up with an R&B and a Sinatra tunes and big band for this album. All big band, but R&B and jazz. And he's part of that selection. He's got an amazing ear. He's not a musician at all. but he has a great ear. Great ear.
Oh, that's helpful. That's really helpful. Yeah. So all right. So I know you got this new CD. You got the Smooth Jazz Jam next week. You got your CD release party coming in October. I know you got probably 50 other plans coming up in the next couple years.
I do. I'm going to do another album. I hope to be on a European tour as soon as this stuff lifts up and goes away. I won't go until it does. I want the musicians to be happy. You know, and when I travel, I hire musicians over where I'm at. I take my musical director with me, and then I just tell him, make it right for the night.
Yeah.
So he does pre-work and hires the musicians, gets the charts sent over, and I feel like a big girl. I'm really just a little girl still trying to make my way, you know. I really...
Now this next album that you want to do, is it going to have a different kind of feel to it?
Totally. It'll be more R&B.
Okay. Do you write stuff? I never asked you that. Do you write music, write songs at all?
Do you know what? I'm so jealous of you. You're an excellent writer and theater as well. Theater was my minor in college, and I don't do anything with it except on the stage. I am pretty theatrical, but as far as writing, I do not even know how to write a poem.
Oh,
So
I bet you did
write.
if you just sat down. I bet you it might come to you.
But I can't sit down.
Oh, well, that's a problem. Yeah.
I don't write. So I don't write. I don't write music. I've had 2 songs sent to me musically, but I might have to ask you to help me because I can't write the lyrics to it.
Well, I might sit down and help. Well, listen, we're running out of time, my dear. Hope Diamond, she's got a Smooth Jazz Jam next week, Wednesday, September 29th, 6 p.m. at Frankie's. Call for reservations, 760-770-1300. $15 cover, dinner and show. Check her out. You got to come see my girl Hope. She rocks the place with Wally Larson on sax. All right, darling, listen, break a leg. I'll be there on Wednesday. I'm going to see you.
I know.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. All right. Love you. See you next week. Okay. All right. We'll be back with more on the Desert Scene.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
Hey, we're back on the desert scene. I was about to say the culture corner, but we're not that anymore.
Caught yourself.
Caught myself there. But I wanted to give you the chance to talk about an upcoming event that you're doing.
Oh, the Desert Ensemble Theater Company. I've done many plays with them. Love them. DETC. Jerome Elliott and Sean Bromwitz. And each season the season opener is a concert, fundraiser for the theater. And this year it's called Reunited, and I am part of the cast. I'm really excited. Myself, Charles Herrera, Darcy Daniels, Jerome Elliott, Joel Baker on piano. And it's going to be the weekend, October, I think 21st, 22nd, 23rd. We'll talk more about it when it gets closer, but we're starting rehearsals, and I'm really excited to be part of it.
And then also Virtually Yours.
Oh, yeah, Virtually Yours. I'm doing a show with Clifford Bell on October 16th. And this is a virtual thing, so we're going to be doing it at a house in Palm Springs, but it's going to be, I guess, streamed live, so you can see it. It's not a big crowd there. We're streaming it live, so on Facebook, I think. I'm really excited about that. Clifford Bell is wonderful. I've worked with him several times. There's a number of people on this show, so...
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to see all this stuff going for you. So definitely check out those events, everybody, when you get a chance. And then just remind us, we'll be sure to remind you when these events happen.
Yes.
And of course, there's always, if you always want to see what's going on in the desert, just tune in every Saturday, honestly, because you're going to hear a lot of events coming up and you don't want to miss out on them because things are coming back.
Things are coming back. Yeah, they really are. And that's great.
And I think the thing is that when things coming back, it also means things sell out easily because obviously
people are desperate to get out of their house and go somewhere fun. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I got my tickets for Hairspray for the McCallum a long time ago because I did not want to miss out on that. And I'm trying to see if I can go to a couple like shows in Las Vegas because there's a I think they're doing Cats in October, and I'm trying to see if I can go, but I've already seen Cats like twice, so like there's a good chance that maybe I can live without Cats another year. But otherwise, I don't know. I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up on my Broadway shows as they go on, because I know another company, Palm Canyon Theater, is doing Les Miserables and Into the Woods this season, so I'm excited. I want to go to those.
So you got a couple news stories you want to get in.
Of course. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, has finally come out in a new memoir.
Came out of the closet.
She came out of the closet, and she's had this relationship with this woman for
20 years. That's bizarre that she kept it a secret. That's amazing.
I think I've seen a lot of people say, how do you not brag about having Elvira as
your girlfriend
for 20 years? Because everyone in the horror film community wants to date her.
Yeah.
And and the memoir is called Yours Cruelly, Elvira Memories of the Mistress of the Dark, and it debuted this Tuesday, I believe. So if you really want I think it's an interesting memoir. I'm actually really curious about it, but it's interesting that she barely came out.
Yeah, I bet it's an interesting read. I don't know that much about her personally. I don't think a lot of people do, just her persona, but I'd be curious about her life. Yeah,
I think what I'm curious about right now, about other than her relationships and her time on television, I'm actually curious about her rivalry with Vampira.
Oh,
because Vampira and Elvira had like some issues because Vampira felt that Elvira stole her shtick.
Yeah,
but I think
don't steal my shtick.
Yeah. I think, as Boy George once said, it doesn't matter who came first, it matters who did it best.
There you go. I want to get in, if you don't mind, just real quick, a couple of folks we lost not too long ago. And I don't know, maybe you can help me. Sex and the City star Willie Garson dies at 57. Was it a heart attack? Was it
pancreatic cancer?
Oh, gosh.
Now, Willie Garson, he played Stanford on Sex and the City, and his character was, beloved for being just a wonderful, positive friend for the show, and so he did a good job representing gay characters, but he was just such a nice character.
Yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy. And also Norm Macdonald, who was 61, also some kind of cancer. I don't know what kind.
I believe so. And Norm Macdonald was on SNL, and he was a force to be reckoned with. He really went in there and just challenged status quos when he was doing his comedy, and he was just funny in general. Like, I love this one skit where he roasted an actress for being in a Carrot Top movie, and it was like one of the funniest things in the world. I have to send it to you, but he's really funny.
And we also lost not too long ago, but he was much older, Ed Asner, who was, I think, 94?
I think so.
Yeah, he was up there, yeah.
Ed Asner had passed away. Also, Melvin Van Peebles, who made a movie called he's considered the godfather of black cinema. He made Sweetback's Badass Song and Watermelon Man, movies that were about black men challenging the status quo, whether or not they were the police. Some movies that basically have aged better than we thought.
Yeah,
that he also passed away, unfortunately. But real quick, for pop culture history,
yes.
For September 24th, The Monsters finally aired on 1964, and in 1968. 60 Minutes aired for the first time.
Wow. Gosh, it's amazing that it's been around that long.
And Halloween, the horror film Halloween, for September 25th, for this weekend, Halloween from 1978 premiered, becoming Jamie Lee Curtis's debut film and becoming a classic of the slasher film genre. And one last thing, Gilligan's Island 1964 premiered on September 26th.
Wow. And
I'll just throw in that in 1991, ABC tried to air Cop Rock. Dismal show.
I remember that, yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this was our premiere, Desert Scene on Radio 111. I'm Bonnie G with Brayan Mendoza. Check us out. We'll be back next week. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you then.